There is a local company in the city of Louisville that is taking the fan base by storm. We've got the head honcho in the virtual studio with us today. We'll talk about everything you need to know about his journey and the T-Shirt Hooligan brand on this episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Stay tuned.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dalton Pence. I serve as a credential media member for Cardinal Sports Zone. I also do some PA announcing work for the university in various sports. We got a special edition of this Tuesday episode of the show. I've got the owner of T-ShirtHooligan.com and writer for stateoflouisville.com, Alan Thomas, my good friend in the virtual studio with me. Alan, what's going on, man?
What's up, Dalton? I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a long time coming.
It really has. You know, it's funny you say that because I feel like I should have had you on the show a long time ago, but regardless, I'm glad you're here now. We'll start out talking about the T-Shirt Hooligan brand, where it came from, where it originated from, how it kind of started up. We'll then transition into the work that Allen and company are doing with NIL deals, with player merchandising for, you know, mainly the Louisville men's basketball team, but not basically reduced to just that. And then in the final segment, we'll talk about a unique opportunity, one of the first of its kind. There's a unique basketball camp coming up here in the next couple months that our T-Shirt Hooligan is a part of. We'll talk about all that. And Alan is going to my knowledge, break some news on the show. So that's some big time stuff. We'll start out. Alan, I've always wanted to know this, and I really don't know why I've never asked. Where did the name T-Shirt Hooligan originate? Is that something that you did kind of on your own? Is it like a little nucleus of a couple people? Where did that come from? And well, I guess when did that come about as well?
So T-Shirt Hooligan, basically the name Hooligan. I was in this, people are going to laugh at this, but I was in an all white rap group back in the early 2000s, locally here in Louisville. And we were called the Hooligans. We ended up moving down to New Orleans, Southern Mississippi, and turning into a punk rock band. And we never really made it. We never really did much at all. I think the partying got in the way, et cetera, et cetera. Flash forward, like, I always loved the name of that band. And I was like, you know, but of course there are other bands called the Hooligans. We're not the only one, but it was kind of one of those things. Like, if I ever had like a business, I'd try to fit Hooligan in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. So again, you know, flash forward, I made myself a Twitter, and I just wanted to see the sports world, what have you. Bumped into Trav along the way at Rep Louisville on Twitter, and found out he's like a local legend designer. He's like the best designer in the state, graphic designer, and he's done stuff for professional athletes and organizations all over the state, all over the country. And so before we started T-Shirt Hooligan, we decided to have some kind of contest on Twitter. And I just wanted to generate whatever for the fan base. It wasn't starting a business. It was just kind of like I wanted to meet some people and get in touch with whoever was out there. The winner of the contest would win a couple wristbands. And the second place would get like a wristband or whatever. Well, I'm like, so I look into how to make wristbands and how much that would cost. And turns out you have to buy a whole lot at one time. So I was like, I'm just going to buy a whole bunch and then just give them out to people. Maybe we'll sell a couple. I just wanted to meet some people. And along the way, we ran into a lot of people, made a lot of connections. And, you know, talking with Trav, we just decided to, you know, give it a whirl, like with his expertise. And I was learning and getting apps and things like that. So it's just one of those things that kind of like magically happened through relationships. And that's really like the main thing about our entire basis has been relationships. The relationship with Trav and I is tight. We run everything by each other. You know, and if we do have an idea, it's never just I'm just going to do this on my own. It's always a group effort. And the people that we work with, you know, it kind of is the same way. We're always going to bounce ideas off of, you know, everyone involved. It's a really tight knit organization. I will say that. That's how it started.
So walk me a little bit through that timeline. So, you know, you tried the music industry out, for lack of better terms, it just didn't work out. You come back here to Louisville. So how quickly after, you get back here in the 502, do you meet Trav? And I guess the second question is, where has there always kind of been a creative, I guess, trying to go into the music industry, there has to be a little bit of a creative, innovation in terms of what you're focusing on. But was there ever like a thought before this possibility came about that say, hey, I'd like to create some merchandise, or does that just kind of come from, the opportunity arising?
I tell my daughter this all the time because she paints and she crochets. She's 12 and she kind of has that gene. And it's not that she's a lot better than me, first of all. But it's kind of one of those things where you just like, some people are creative thinkers in this way, and some of them are really good at school. I was never really great at school, grades wise, subject wise, but I always had, I like in school, I would always write lyrics or draw a picture, and I'm not a great drawer. But, along the way, I've learned a lot, like I said, through Trav and through just little tutorials here and there. I mean, society is built on tutorials. And I've just kind of learned what the eye wants to see, and what the cleanest images are. And like I said, you learn from people, too. I study T-shirt trends and, what's in right now. Like right now, it's retro is in big time. And 90s kind of themes and stuff like that. What kind of designs were hot in the 90s? And it's all about the next biggest thing. But back to your original question about how it all came about. Once I moved back to Louisville, I had a little bout with drugs. I had a bout with heroin, and I had to go through a lot of stuff to get through that, and just to rebuild, get back to me. Before I could even think of taking any steps to start to do this. So this wasn't even a thought going through all that. And that took years. So, that bout has always been on the back or on the front burner, and everything else is on the back burner. So, but you learn to live, and you learn to just, like, you got to be a doer, like you can't just sit back and say, all right, well, I made it. Here I am. I like to press the envelope. I like to, reach out to people. I'm not afraid to, to take the next step. And like I said, it shows in our relationships. We like to deal with people that are risk takers and, for lack of a better word, dream chasers, So anyway, I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think it's very, peculiar that you say that, because I think that, you and I have a good understanding. Obviously, we're in a little bit different, stages respectively in our lives. But I think you and I both kind of have always grasped the notion in the respective sense of, sometimes doors close in life, and, other doors open, and some that you really never see coming. And I'm glad you're here where you are. I'm glad that our paths crossed. One of the things that I have very much enjoyed in the NIL realm that kind of kick-started before this athletic year, so to speak, in the fall, is how T-Shirt Hooligan has embraced that and, kind of offered an opportunity for some student athletes here at Louisville to be able to, make some profit off of their brand and maximize that exposure. I want to talk about that here in just a second after we talk about our friends over at StatHero. I've been on the show multiple times saying that March Madness is my favorite time of the year. It's a national holiday for me. As much as I claim that I love college basketball and watch it regardless if it's Louisville or not, it never fails. My bracket is shattered. Day one, doesn't matter, gone. Out the window. That's why this year I started to shift towards StatHero. It's a little bit of a different approach. The single game pick'ems pits the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. It gives you the advantage, resulting in their gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because StatHero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're going up against. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. So do yourself a favor. Right now, because we're really running out of time in March Madness, sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use the promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. Once again, that's stathero.com/lockedon while using the promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. As always, I want to take this time to personally thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And just a reminder, the Locked On Louisville podcast is free on all streaming services 5 days a week, your team every day. Joined again, I guess I'll reintroduce the man with the plan again. Alan Thomas, he's with us today, owner of T-Shirt Hooligan, writer for stateoflouisville.com. We're kind of talking now about the way T-Shirt Hooligan has embraced the NIL realm. And Alan, for those who aren't aware, because I feel like there's probably a lot that has to go on behind the scenes to make sure that this is, NCAA regulated and stuff like that. How would you describe kind of how, T-Shirt Hooligan got into this mix, so to speak, but also what has to happen behind the scenes to ensure that this remains legal in the eyes of the NCAA?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say it was late June when all the talk was going on. And I honestly wasn't going to touch it because I didn't know enough about it. I hadn't done any research on it. And I was kind of like in between projects with work and T-Shirt Hooligan and everything else. And my wife was pregnant. So actually part of our think tank, Maddie Nice on Twitter, he's always been in our group chat. He's always been kind of behind the scenes, how about this, how about that? And a lot of credit, I should have mentioned him earlier. A lot of credit goes to him of helping us build this and helping us, form relationships. But anyway, he was kind of in the group chat and he's like, hey, listen, he's like, I think we should take a stab, just reach out to somebody, see what you can see. And I told him, I said, I don't know enough about it. I'm not touching it. And so I kind of sat back from that group chat and I went and myself just kind of did a whole lot of research and reached out to a lot of people legally, a lot of people, on the school side and this and that. What do we need to do? How many bases do we need to cover? Is it worth it? What needs to happen? And what we found out is it's pretty much cut and dry. You can't use, it's all the basic things we know. You can't use the school's emblems on anything. And you kind of have to be careful about, how you present it, if the player's on there or if it's, if you put the player's logo, you can't, say you can't put a Cardinal or, you know what I mean? You just have to be very careful. This is Louisville, talking about Louisville.
Right.
And so we just started reaching out to a couple people just to see, and this is July 1st. Right away, I was like, it's July 1st. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it, ahead of the game. And we had a couple people reach back and a couple people kind of ghost us, and that's fine. They weren't interested yet, but the people that were interested were able to kind of, help us out. Like, well, hey, here's what we have to do, and here's what they expect of you guys, and here's what we have to log and keep track of. So, and so from then, it just kind of, one thing led to another, and I really honestly can't believe where we are after all that, because it was literally a leap of faith, just like a lot of things we've done. We just try to be doers. And, try to walk through it, even if we fall on our face. And so far, we haven't fallen too hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, the old saying, I feel like elementary school, they drilled it in our heads. A lot of people talk the talk, but eventually you have to walk the walk as well. And I love that that's kind of been your all's mantra. But kind of walk me through what it's been like working with some of these student athletes. For those who are not aware of who Allen and company work with, there is merchandise with, Sidney Curry, Mike James, JJ Traynor, Marshawn Ford, the list goes on. What's it been like to work with these guys? Because you see these guys, or I don't like using the word exposed, but you kind of get to see a different side of these guys that, normal fans don't get to see. What's it like working with some of these student athletes to try to get their brand out there?
That's a great question. It's funny because you get to see the type of person each one is, like when I was growing up, I always wonder like, you see, for example, because we'll talk about him here in a minute, Brewer was he was like one of the first players that I was like, going to games. I was like, oh my God, like, he hits shots from real far away. Back then, threes weren't a big thing, but I'm like, I wonder like if he's just like a dog, like in the locker room, like what he's like in real life. And it's kind of funny to see the like the different personalities. Some are more reserved, some are more out there, some are more persistent, some don't care as much. You kind of have to tap them on the shoulder and remind them of things, and that's just part of being in college, I guess. And we tell them that all the time. We're like, listen, like there is no pressure here. We don't care. Like if you decide one day, say, F you guys, and I really don't want to do this anymore, that's fine, because you're in college and this is your life, and we're, just happy to be here, and happy to know you guys and be in a relationship with you guys. So it's interesting dealing with the personalities. A lot of fun, though. A lot of fun.
And I would almost assume, especially for like people on the Louisville men's basketball team, some of the athletes that you all had, Sidney Curry is a big name in the Louisville community. Marshawn Ford, one of the best tight ends in the country. The list goes on. And I can only imagine how many companies reach out to, guys like Sidney and guys like Marshawn, but not limited to, guys like Malik Cunningham and all these other players that get probably tens to maybe hundreds of companies that inquire about NIL deals, and it really takes a good amount of discipline, a lot of maturity, and a lot of guidance from not only yourself but kind of others. Especially in the college realm, because I'm a couple years out of college, and I mean I can attest to it. You don't have everything figured out in college, especially when you have that much money right in front of you on the table that you weren't necessarily exposed to before. So I think that, I credit some of these guys for being able to handle it the way that they have. But from strictly a merchandising standpoint, before we, get into this unique basketball camp, you talk about the ideas and the way it goes with retro and stuff like that. How does the thought process go in terms of getting thought out there, like the Mike Jones, like the Mike James, or the Mike Jones, the Mike James? I love that. The Houston in me absolutely loved when you showed it to me. I was like, this is it.
That's why I showed you. That's why I showed you, because
yes, it was fantastic. But even then, like JJ Traynor with the 502, same with Marshawn Ford. Do they come to you all with ideas, or is it kind of like a give and take? What does that look like behind the scenes in trying to devise up some merchandise?
It's both. I wish I could answer definitively more this, more that. Sometimes guys will say, hey, I tweeted this, and like for whatever, like this popped in my head and I tweeted it, and I'll be like, that's a really cool thing to say. Like, I might want to put that on a T-shirt, like if it's like that, if it's catchy and quotable and trendy. Other stuff we're just like, we play with the words. Like Mike James was an absolute no-brainer because of like how much I love Houston rap, and like just honestly, that era too of Houston rap, like, I was in my early 20s, and how much I was bopping that stuff, like Mike Jones and Paul Wall and all, and like Slim Thug. I mean, like I was like, this is it's such an easy design to make. And then I showed it to Trav, and he's the one that was like, I'll be back in like an hour or two. And he came back, and I was like, and that's when I DM'd you, and I was like, I have to show Dalton, because
it is funny that you say that, and I don't know that I ever like told you this, but that day that you sent me the DM, I forgot I was coming home from somewhere. It was like an hour drive. It might have been for my day job, but I remember listening to Still Tippin', but Mike Jones on the way back, and it was a nice day outside, and I had my windows down, and I'm like, man, I wish I had a convertible, candy paint convertible going on right now. And then you sent me that, I'm like, no chance. Yeah. Like, this is incredible. Why haven't I thought of this? But I love the ideas that are going out right now. Like, I like the notorious B.I.G., with the Sidney Curry reference, the Mike James with and also JJ and Marshawn with stuff like that. But I think that you are outdoing yourself now with what you're doing with the basketball camp, and I want to give you the platform to tell kind of tell people what that's about, and give your opportunity to break some news on the show. We'll do that here in just a second, though. However, after we talk about our friends over at BetOnline. Look, after months of playing, college basketball has determined the top teams for the Final Four, and will determine this year's national champion at the beginning of next week, I believe. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, you name it, it remains the best spot for all of your latest sports developments, including podcasts and reviews for all the leagues this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. So do yourself a favor, head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Final segment with T-Shirt Hooligan owner Alan Thomas. Alan, there was news that came out. I want to say, what was it, like a week ago or something like that, maybe even less than a week ago, that T-Shirt Hooligan was, I believe it's either sponsoring, putting on, what have you, a basketball a clinic for the younger guys. James Brewer, Boo Brewer, with the help of Sydney Curry and JJ Traynor, are going to be putting on this clinic. Give us all the necessary information and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so it's actually, we have a few sponsors. One is the state of Louisville. The other is Louisville Legends, which is an AAU club locally. And then, of course, there's us. But we're not only the sponsor, we're actually the organizers of the whole thing. And we do have NIL deals with all three people involved. It's not just the current players. We have an NIL. It's what we're just calling it. It's an NIL deal or a merchandise deal with Boo Brewer, which is crazy for me to even like say that out loud. Being watching him, for almost 30 years or something like that. But we just decided to put it together. We wanted a good way to connect with the community. And what way can we get the past player or past players with current players to teach possibly future players and get with an AAU club to do it. And that honestly, that was probably, it was really a beautiful thing how that came together, because it was such a community thing where all three things, everybody I asked was like, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. I mean, it was just such a unanimous, decision from everybody to get on board with it. So definitely very cool. That's going to be May 14th and 15th for 5th and 6th graders. And that is the text line for the camp is 502-622-8818. That's 502-622-8818. Had to get that in there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely plug in whatever you need to. But the question I'm most excited about, what is next? What does T-Shirt Hooligan, what does Alan Thomas, the man with the plan, what does he have planned coming up?
Oh, my gosh. So we've got a few conversations going on this week, and that are going to ultimately lead to the I wouldn't say the end game, but the dream goal for us was always, as soon as we started doing this, the dream goal. Remember, I told you earlier, you can't put emblems from the university or anything like that. So the end game or whatever dream goal for us was always to partner with the university. And it's on the table. And I'm just judging by our track record it's probably going to happen. I can tell you this is without trying to sound cocky. And it's just because I know we have a good relationship with the school and the people inside the athletic department. And they've been really, really, really tolerant and helpful and appreciative. Appreciative. We've been appreciative. They've been kind of holding our hand through this whole thing, helping us get off the ground and, without stepping on toes. So I can say that there's a basis there that to probably get this going. And we're shooting for this summer to kind of release all that. So that's the huge ultimate goal. We have I'll just throw this out there because nobody knows this. And we have a meeting with, and I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to just put them on blast like that, but it's a local rep. It's not Jack Harlow, but a local rep entity or entities here that we're national at one point. We have a meeting with them. We're going to kind of try to collaborate with them moving into the summer. We have huge plans for this summer, like absolutely monstrous plans for this summer. That there's other stuff that I can't even talk about because it's just so on the drawing board and we don't have it all, it's none of it's in ink, but I will say that, we're definitely excited for that first part I told you about. That's we're doing backflips and we're making sure we walk the line to get all that figured out and ironed out so we can get it done.
As you can tell, that's dope. Like I can't stop. Like I tried to look away and tried to keep my calm, but man, I had an idea, like maybe it was like, okay, maybe it's a new player collaboration. Like I'm excited. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. First of all, congratulations. I love,
Thank
hey, the hustle sold separately. You and I both know that. Real ones understand it. Most people talk about it. The real ones get up and they do something about it. So I love the hustle. I love the hustle there. One last question before we kind of get into the conclusion. And this is kind of more of an open-ended, broad spectrum type of question, and interpret this any way that you will. What's kind of the business mantra, or maybe not necessarily a slogan, but kind of the ideology that backs up T-Shirt Hooligan? What does T-Shirt Hooligan represent, or what would you like T-Shirt Hooligan to represent in this community?
Relationships. Everybody we deal with, and everybody, and you know this because I say I call you brother. Like when I text you, I'm like, yeah, brother,
100%.
bro. Like if we run into you and we want to work with you, and it's not just in passing, like you're going to be considered family right away. And so it's the relationships that we've built over time, and that's really such a Louisville thing. Hang on a second, my phone's doing something weird. Okay, but it's such a Louisville thing.
Right.
To have community and to have relationships, and we just, that's really what it is. You have to treat people the right way, and it's not all about the almighty dollar. That's fun too. The attention's fun, but you only live once, man. And I don't want to be sitting in a rocking chair when I'm 80 years old being like, man, I wish I'd have hit him up, or I wish I would have asked him this. I'm going to go ahead and ask you now. And I wish I wish I would have told him, like, you don't have to advertise for us. Like you should be in college. Like I want to be able to tell my grandkids, like I was able to tell Louisville players, I don't care about the money as much as I care about your journey. And that's the community part and the relationship part.
And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of companies out there that I feel like are trying to take advantage of student athletes, and I'm glad, and it doesn't surprise me that T-Shirt Hooligan's going about this the right way.
Yeah.
Alan, I appreciate you for jumping on. Before I let you go, though, I want to thank you all again for making us your first listen of the day. Tomorrow's episode is going to include Jeremy Wallman for his weekly episode on the show. Do yourself a favor, make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. Alan, the floor is yours, my man. Plug us into your social media. Where can we find the merchandise? Also plug us into our friends over at State of Louisville, all that good jazz. Any parting thoughts?
Absolutely. The biggest sponsor of the camp is State of Louisville. It's stateoflouisville.com, cut and dry at State of Lou. You can find all of our merch at tshirthooligan.com. We are called T-Shirt Hooligan. Our Twitter is @Hooligan T-Shirt. This is a lot. If you go to T-Shirt Hooligan and you want player merch, you go up to the search bar and you type in player, and all of our player merch will pop up. That includes everyone you mentioned, plus Yasir Abdullah, Yaya Diaby, and a couple others that I'm leaving. Oh, I'm sorry, Mari Huggins Bruce, and guys like that. So, and I will say this: it's our job as a community to get involved with NIL, and that doesn't mean dump money in my pocket. It means dump money in their pocket. And that's kind of what the camp is designed to do. It's legal now, and it's kind of a taboo thing to say we need to pay players, but it's okay to say we need to pay players. Let's pay the players.
Right. I hope one day, now this is me being selfish, I hope that one day, everybody's seen the Kenny Payne won those game shirts. Love those. First of all, I can only imagine what the numbers will look like on that. I hope that one day, I don't know if this will ever come. I hope this comes to fruition. Instead of Kenny Payne won those games, I need a Dalton Pence announce those games across the front one day, hopefully, eventually in the future. Talking about dream goals, but
we can get that, dude. Just text me. We can get that knocked out for you. That is not a problem, dude, at all.
I'll be wearing them like, this guy's completely full of himself. First of all, who's Dalton Pence?
Dalton Pence announced those games. Yeah.
You made that meme a couple of years ago. The whole they don't know that I'm friends with Dalton Pence meme. Yeah. And I saw that today, and it just made me laugh going back. But listen, Alan, I appreciate you for coming on the show. It's been a long time coming. First of all, I appreciate everything. and our relationship and stuff like that. Wish you the best of luck. I know you don't need that, though, because the places you're all going, it is incredible. I'm excited to see the journey for those out there. Definitely support T-Shirt Hooligan, but more importantly, support the Louisville, the student athletes here at Louisville. That's going to wrap up this special episode on this Tuesday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.